Okay, one interesting question I wanted to ask. It's very nice because you gave quite an elaborate answer in terms of how to be present in the moment, trying to give the job or whatever function you're supposed to execute its due at that moment, saying this is what exists and everything else can wait for a while. Um, I find one thing that I was talking to some friend. She's been in a negative mindset for quite a while, and she kept every time she comes with it, she will always talk about how to sort out my life. And I am like, look, there is nothing called life except for this moment. Everything else is so big. I cannot give you an answer that is going to satisfy every question that is going to arise in your mind. And even while talking to her, sometimes I find that I run short of words or even wisdom. If I were in her position, I would also not have an answer, perhaps. But again and again, I come back to that same thing, and it seems almost. I now want to bring the flip side to the answer that you gave. When I advise people that you go to this and just resolve this at this point. If you're sitting and eating, just eat. Now you cannot do much. You may like the food, you may dislike the food, you've been hungry for 3 days, or you may be overeating. All of those are stories that you can tell yourself or not. The fact of the matter is either you eat or you do not. And that is where the moment lies. We cannot go overdo it or under. So you have to be responsible for that moment, and the rest of it will take care of itself when it comes. Now, my question, the flip side that she so cleverly asked, I think when we are down, we are so clever that we just hack at the very tree that we are sitting on, like Sheikh Chili's. So she would often say, but how am I going to resolve the bigger one? This is what you're talking only about eating, and what kind of stupid example is this? And I can't understand this. And how can I just broke it down to the extent of saying, okay, now your hand is on the morsel, you are dipping it in the gravy, now it is in your mouth, now you're chewing it as much as you can so that the process is being looked at rather than, in fact, Dhoni himself has said this a couple of times, he always bothers about the process, not the results. To some extent, with whatever limited wisdom I have, I try and do that. Like you said also, when you're sitting and working on that line, you cannot be sitting in judgment on it. There is a time for judgment also, but that is later. While working is the de Bono green hat theory. You say yes to every idea that comes, however stupid it seems or whatever. Then there is a red hat, there is a black hat where you completely throw out all the rubbish. But there's a time for judgment. But every minute that you are creating something. So now my question to you is, how do you bring yourself to the fact that the backstory that is running in your head is not important? Suppose you have, say you have a daughter who I'm presuming goes to school or college or whatever. So if they have some need with you, which is required, which is education led, and you need to be there, and at the same time you need to deliver something, and now we become faster, I think we can work on mobiles also, but there are days when there are some complicated subjects where you need dedicated time. Like even when I sit sometimes to work on the values workshop thing, sometimes I really need my space where I need to think. Even if it is when I watch this same talk that we are having right now, I have to write a description in the YouTube descriptor part. I need to think afresh. Some after effects are there that Jisha made me feel like this. Good, bad, oh my God, she's a great conversationalist, or there is some problem, oh my God, the internet wasn't good enough, whatever is in my head. But when I'm writing, I need to focus on the subject on hand, not what I felt or what you feel or what you said. What you said, if I can use it for promotion and all this stuff, is another stuff. So how do you discard the background story in your case? Without Gyan, is there any methodology that you apply? Is there any practice that you do? How do you pause to say, no, this is important and I will not look here and there? Or have you learned over the years, or what has happened? When did it come to you? Because initially as a writer, I didn't have it. I'm sure you didn't have it. We were hassled by all jobs. Not only the one that we were working on, but I think every other job on the list was seeming like a big pressure thing. So how and when did this change happen, and what is it that you exactly do to focus on the job at hand?
So this is I started doing this during the after the lockdown happened, and because they were, everything moved on to phone and a laptop, and I was constantly like, I'd become a telephone operator of sorts, in the sense I was constantly like, out of say 9 hours or 10 hours that I would work, I would maybe say 4 hours or 5 hours on phone. It was that long, at least in the initial phase. I think over time people learned of how not to call and just message and get things done. So and there were so many. So I used to earlier write down. I used to write down, and I used to find great joy in ticking off things. So then what happened is you tick off the smaller ones, because then you find, 4 out of 10 done, but the more important ones are left behind. So what I did, because I was doing this, so I started making the quadrant, the urgent and important, and not urgent, not important, like that. So I started making a quadrant, and I used to write like that. So urgent and important. So I know I have to focus on this one, and I know the next one is this. So I think that helped. But it's not a constant practice. I do that when I have a lot of things to do in a particular day, or in a series of days. Then I do that. Otherwise, it's generally, I just look at what I have to do, and in my mind I know, I like, this challenge where you said school versus or something I have to do for the family, and something I didn't need to do for my, somewhere things have not clashed so badly. And whenever I've been required to be in my give more time at home, I don't remember facing a dilemma where it has happened. It has been easy, fairly easy. And then I just put in more hours. I mean, whenever I need to do that, I just maybe sit late, or wake up early. So those are the kind of things. But this quadrant stuff helps. It does help. I don't practice this so often, but it really helps.
Wonderful. So, if I were to understand the underlying, I do not know about this quadrant in detail per se. Whatever you said, I'm being a writer, I think half of it is guesswork. But I think what you're trying to say is there is a certain sense of discipline that you adhere to. And if you adhere to that discipline, it starts giving you some kind of satisfaction. Then you put in something, then again it works. So it's like a chain that you're setting in motion, which kind of cancels the negatives that are running in your mind. Because you are getting into the doership mode. Okay, I have a problem. If I were to
something about it,
exaggerate about it, so it's like that mountain man stories. In 20 years, he's cut down the mountain, but he's not cut down the mountain in one day. And he's not thought about cutting it down in one day. He doesn't get bogged down by, I haven't seen the film. I knew some other Zen story, which was quite a beautiful story, but it has another moral, so I'm not bringing it here. So the idea is that every day you stand and you keep doing what can be done and then step backwards. So one question that I want to ask you on this, as writers, initially though we lived in a fantasy world of sorts and lot of things, our potential is that the next Oscar or advertising award and this and that would come to us and our name will feature here, there. All the big ads and beautiful ads will be done by us and all kinds of fantasies happen. What I call as delusion right now. How does one break free from this mindset to focus on the job at hand? What is it that we can do about, or what is it that you particularly do about this? So my question is that specifically is that when we have these fantasies or we have these delusions about ourselves, how do you separate that from the actual work to be done and concentrating on the job at hand? Is it something that is consciously done over a period of time, or because as creatives, I think there is a lot of leeway we give ourselves, that we are trying to connect to disparate things and bring up the next big idea, or we want to do the best for our client or for our own capabilities to get the get out there and make an impact. So how do you demarcate Jisha the dreamer from Jisha the person who's actually doing the work?
So, I mean, yeah, I mean, for advertising, I think this is a very interesting question. Everybody who joins advertising, or at least people who join it out of passion, I think they have this dream to make it big and be known, and be invited for discussions and, give wise opinions, and sound a certain way, and have that power, have that people look up to your words, and they, write down your words and put it up as in their rooms. So yes, I also when I joined, this is about, I think, 10, 11 years back, I was very fascinated by advertising, and so I wanted, to become, because I felt it then, and I felt it now, I feel it now, that there is a lot that I can do, and my ideas have got power. So I don't see myself as, a copywriter or an art director. I see I'm more of an idea person. And I think that concept, the first concept that we crack, I think I'm pretty good at it, and that's what and through that I can say move mountains or do things for companies or for the world. So now when you're doing, I on a daily basis, I think that just doesn't come, that big picture just vanishes from my mind, and I'm focusing on the specific objectives that we need to meet. Sometimes it is very very small, maybe something like writing an email, or it could be a larger one where you're planning a campaign, or a product is being launched, and then there are multimedia approach and all that. So but when I'm focusing on work that is at hand, I try and do my best there. I don't compare it, or I don't think, what did I want to be? Am I there? I don't do that on a daily basis. But once in a while, you look at some nice ad, and then you feel, oh shit, I didn't do this. And where am I? How far have I come in, say, last 5 years, 10 years? So then you tend to evaluate and compare, and then take some corrective measures, either in terms of upskilling yourself, or maybe shifting to another company, or things like those, or maybe just retuning in your mind, and retuning your team, motivating them and inspiring them, and say, you look at the work that we're doing. Are you happy with this? Look at this. Could you have not done this better? Could we have not done this better? So you motivate, inspire yourself, you inspire your team. And so I think it's an ongoing process. It's like, every day you brush your teeth and take baths. So I think we just need to do this as frequently as possible, and then you keep growing. But like I was saying earlier also, that uh, we we compare ourselves to the highest standards. We'll compare ourselves to Piyush Pandey, and then we'll say, did we create that way? Or internationally, there are so many, I mean, wonderful print ads, television ads that you see, and you compare what you create to them, and then you say, oh, I've not done well, or I've not applied my mind so well. I could have done a little better here. So I think we compare ourselves to the best, and then we feel miserable about it. And there are so many people who have, like, come third, or come 100th, and come 50th in terms of, delivering. And they are as brilliant as maybe the top 10 or top 5. So on a daily basis,